I was born a rich man's son. I had everything that money could buy, but freedom I had none. I've been looking for freedom. I've been looking so long. I've been looking for freedom. Still the search goes
Welcome, friends.
We're here with the second podcast for the Alabama Liberal blog and also the Blue in Alabama blog. Michael, are we the only two liberal bloggers in Alabama?
I know a couple more, but I think we probably make up about half of them, so we're clearly...
On this 2-minute phone call, I think we're about 50% probably of the liberal blogging community, and the other ones I think are newsletters, so...
Yeah, I mean, we're clearly the most prevalent.
Yeah, I don't know if they have podcasts, but I think, so here we are, we're only a few hours away from tonight's Republican debate. I mean, I guess it's exciting. I mean, I guess. I don't know if there's anything to really, I mean, they've had about 10 of them, and I think they're kind of falling into a pattern. I think they're kind of getting, you know, like I think we can pretty much predict what's going to go down. But I mean, if you had to put any predictions out there of what you think is going to happen, what do you think is going to go down?
Well, I'm going to put a 50-50 chance that Ben Carson sleeps through the entire debate. He tends to do that. I think Carly Fiorina will come out and basically attack Hillary for being against women.
I think the smart money's with you on that one. Yeah.
Donald Trump will basically make fun of...
I think Fiorina's only like one bad week away from accusing Bill Clinton of raping her, you know?
Like,
she's like one desperate week away from being like Bill Clinton. We were in an elevator in the Palms Casino, and he grabbed my ass one time, you know. I mean, I think if she goes down any further in the polls, you know, John Edwards and Bill Clinton personally is off to turn an alleyway.
Well, you know, if she wanted to go that route and say she could play the whole Hillary Clinton is against women because she stayed with a cheating husband. So,
yeah.
I better not give her any ideas if she's listening. But
yeah, I mean, we can only hope. But I think that when we talked about candidates that are inauthentic in the first podcast, I mean, we kind of hit on that. We kind of hit on O'Malley being really delusionally confident, not seeming to realize he doesn't have a chance. Fiorina, I mean, we all know she got in the race primarily so the Republican Party wouldn't look like a sausage fest, you know. They didn't want to have, they didn't want to have, you know, 15 men up on stage shitting all over Hillary, so they had to bring out, they're like, God, what female can, Sarah Palin? No, she's discredited. I know, how about the former CEO of Hewlett Packard? I guess, you know. And it's something like, I think Fiorina, just looking at her, you kind of get the sense that they were desperate for any woman they could find to run, but yet when you see her, she doesn't seem to get that it's not for real. Like, she doesn't seem to get that she doesn't have a chance, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, kind of like what we talked about with Martin O'Malley. She's got that whole, she's delusional because she thinks she actually has a shot at winning this, when really it's like, no, you are here to make fun of Hillary. That's your job. You stick with that and leave the boys to, you know, make the shot, call the shots. That's what we do.
I mean, it feels terrible, but that feels like probably a meeting the Republican management has had. You know, I mean, they're probably like, all right, now, Carly, what are you looking for here? Because they just needed anybody to attack Hillary, and I think you're right. I mean, that seems to be her sole role during the debates. They had during the very first Republican debate. They asked John Kasich why he didn't attack Hillary more, and they compared him to Fiorina, and they said, now Carly will attack her without even being asked, you know. And at that moment, she probably had Hillary Sutton on the tip of her tongue, and she was just waiting for her time to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. That's her only reason she's in it. I mean,
so I think we can. I mean, when we talk about debate tropes, I think we can pretty much guarantee that Donald Trump will insult Jeb Bush in some form, fashion. I mean, like, I think they're about one debate away from him just flat out throwing a like cream pie in his face or something, you know, just like telling the bastard to fuck a whoopee, like a cream pie, maybe like they shake hands at the beginning, an electric buzzer or something, you know.
And you know when that happens, because you know it's going to, you know when that happens, Trump's numbers are going to go up.
What if he just came out on stage and pantsed him, just like literally pulled his pants, something like that? Yeah, his numbers would be like through the roof. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hilarious. Like, I have to say, I mean, I don't like Trump, but in a way, I'm really glad he's running because his behavior. I mean, like, he's really the only guy calling Bush out and really making.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he started the whole, you know, shitting on George W. Bush thing. And none of the other candidates have been willing to do that so far. So, like, nobody else has really been willing to talk about the Iraq War. And I mean, you know, so, I mean, they do talk about the Iraq War, but it's Obama's fault, you know.
Right.
And the ISIS and all that, it's Obama's debacle. But I mean, Trump's been the only one really connecting that to George W. Bush. And so in a way, in that one aspect, I'm glad he's up on that stage because he's kind of the only one, you know, connecting Jeb to his brother, and he's the only one kind of not talking about George W. Bush like he was a good president, which the rest of them seem content to do, you know.
Right. And speaking of Jeb, you know, just imagine what it's like to be Jeb. I mean, it's like
that's a horrifying thought. I don't know if I really want to go with it. But,
you know, he was kind of looked at, you know, coming in for a couple of years now. You know, Jeb is potentially going to run. Jeb's going to be the front runner. Jeb could get the nomination. And then out of nowhere, Trump comes in and Trump's like, Jeb, your balls haven't even dropped yet. Like, what you even doing out here? And he's like, oh no, a bully. What do I do? And it's like he can't speak. And it's like you just see him falling in the polls because he can't stand up for himself.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, because you got to go all the way back through Jeb's background. And his dad, George H.W., I mean, their family's always been political royalty. Even before George H.W. Bush, there was Prescott Bush, you know, his granddad.
Right.
So they've always from this long political family, and even when Jeb and George were kids, before their dad was the vice president, he was the CIA director, he was a congressman, he was the head of the Republican National Committee, so you can't really find anybody who's had an easier life than Jeb Bush, if you think about it, you know. And he's probably never been in a fight in his life. Now, I don't know if Trump has ever been in an actual fight, but he's certainly got the mouth of a brawler, you know.
Yeah.
That whole the funny thing about Trump, he was born rich. His dad had $100 million, but Trump acts like they raised him in an alleyway, like a couple of feral alley cats, like a couple of feral alley cats, and like, you know, Oscar the Grouch are like, let me show you the ropes, kid. You know, I mean, he really comes across like somebody who didn't come from a privileged background.
Yeah, but see, Trump's the type that he's going to talk a big game, and then he's going to probably give, you know, some guy down the street $1,000 to, you know, actually be his muscle and beat you up. So he doesn't have to get his $20,000 suits messed up.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Jeb, he's never had to fight before, and he's never had like that kind of, you know, that he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it, and I think, you know, SNL, they had a great opening sketch when Tina Fey and Amy Poehler hosted, where they showed how desperate, you know, like the guy playing Jeb Bush, Nate Bennett, he was like, "Is now the part where I take a desperate swing at Donald Trump," and he's Trump, the candidate, and he just looked so confused, and then Daryl Hammond as Trump just obliterated him, you know, and that's kind of what happens. I mean, if you really watch the last few debates, Trump hasn't attacked Jeb first. He just kind of hangs back, and then Jeb starts shit with Trump and Trump finishes it, you know?
Yeah.
Like he'll come in and be like, Donald Trump, you're not going to assault you out of the White House. He's like, I'm at 64 fucking %, you idiot, you know? And he's just like, starts crying or something, you know? He's like, you keep running your mouth, you're going to be all the way off that fucking stage, you know? And I mean, it's like, you almost see Jeb's eyes well up. I mean, he just doesn't, he doesn't really know what it's like. I'm just about to start crying, you know? And, I mean, Daryl Hammond and Trump in that sketch had the great line where he goes, Jeb, I know for a fact your pee's sitting down. No, I don't. And I mean, it really is childish. It looks like schoolyard shenanigans. Trump, really.
Donald Trump is like that school bully. And Jeb Bush is the school nerd. And he won't leave him alone.
And not even a smart nerd though. Like he's like the rich nerd. He's like the rich kid.
Yeah.
They probably ate a lot of paint chips growing up or something.
And like his punishment is going to this school.
Yeah, his dad's like, I wanna toughen you up. I'm gonna send you to public school. No, please, you know.
Yeah.
He's just or whatever. But with you know, a couple of days before New Year's Eve, Trump he had some kind of a post on Twitter saying like "Happy Holidays, Jeb" or something, and it had a picture of Jeb picking his nose or something like that. I don't know if he saw that. He took a picture of Jeb picking his nose and put it on there. I mean, we really are reduced to the 6th grade at this point, you know. Because like Trump fucking called him out for picking his nose, and I mean, Lindsey Graham, before he even got started, he gave his phone number away or something like that. Like basically encouraged Trump's chumps to prank call him and stuff like that. So it was like. I mean, it's kind of awesome to watch because you got to keep. For people like us who don't particularly like these other candidates in the Republican field, seeing like a schoolyard bully turn loose on Jeb Bush and Lindsey Graham and Christie is pretty fucking amazing, you know.
It really is.
It's kind of what we've been waiting for, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, obviously with Trump, I mean, we don't condone his racism, and we don't. I think I would. Be more against Trump if I thought he was going to actually be the nominee. But since I don't, it's hilarious to have him in there, you know.
Right. I'm with you. I mean, me personally, I don't think Donald Trump's going to win a single state, even with his popularity where it is. But
well, I was thinking about it, and I thought about, like, I don't remember the last time a nominee was this hated by his own party.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you watch Real Time with Bill Maher, every single week there'll be a conservative guest on, and they preface it with, I can't fucking stand Donald Trump. I wouldn't vote for him if I was on fire.
Absolutely.
You know? And then they start talking about Rubio or, you know, whoever the establishment candidate of the week is. It used to be Walker. I think now it's Rubio. And they're all, and they're like desperate to talk about anybody else. But I'm seriously seeing about 20 conservatives in the last year come on Real Time and be like, I wouldn't vote for Trump if, you know, I hate him. I wish he would drop out. He's terrible. And yet he's at the top of the poll. You know, so it's like, I mean, I can't remember a time that a candidate has been this hated by his own party.
Which, I mean, to me, I think part of it is an entertainment value. I think people are entertained by Trump. And I think that's, you know, inflating his numbers. I don't think those people are necessarily going to vote for him. They like him because he's entertaining. And plus, you got to think the guy is an entertainer. He had his own TV show. I mean, the guy is a celebrity. He may not be a politician. He's a celebrity. And he had a big following. And I think that following is following him into politics, and you know that following's still with him. So I think that could be part of the reason that his numbers are inflated. But when it comes time to vote, you can't really count on all those people. And the closer you get to an actual election, it's like, okay, are we really? Yeah, we've been entertained by him, but is this really somebody we want representing us? I think you're going to see a lot of that support go away.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so like in terms of tonight's debate, I mean, you know, we'll see Trump insult Bush, probably Bush insult Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll see Ben go after Clinton. We'll see Christie really go after Clinton because that's his new strategy, basically all Hillary all the time, you know.
And he will You'll also see Christie make at least 2 references to 9/11, and him being him being there to see the falling towers and the dead bodies, because he has to reference that in every debate, just to remind you.
And that's a good question. I know they keep bringing up ISIS, and it's a lot of ISIS, and you have to wonder, Christie. I mean, I know 9/11 in like New Jersey and New York. I mean, I know it's like a big part of the culture, but you have to wonder nationwide. Like is that still tracking with people? Because he brings that up a lot, and it's like, is that still like as relevant as it once was? I know that's kind of a callous question to ask, but like,
right.
Giuliani, found out that 8 years ago people it wasn't enough. Like, it wasn't really enough to bring up 9/11, and now people have shifted from Al-Qaeda to ISIS, and I know it's the same Islamic fundamentalist threat, but they are different groups, and now all the candidates are talking ISIS 24/7. I mean, is Al-Qaeda yesterday's news?
Yeah, and, I think you're right. I don't think Obama was necessarily wrong when he said that, Al-Qaeda the leadership had been decimated and was on the brink of being defeated. I mean, I don't think he was wrong when he said that, and I think he gets a lot of heat from it. But if you really look at who's controlling the region, it's ISIS. And that threat that you see start popping up in America is ISIS. So I think you have a Republican field that's kind of saying, oh, the big threat's ISIS now. We need to latch on to that. And, talk about that all the time. And Christie's like, no, let's go back to 9/11. Because I was actually, I was in that neighborhood. So let's go back to that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've seen these debates take more and more about national security. Because, they started out with kind of more like the economy, and then it's like, oh shit, the economy's doing well, and then the better the economy gets right now, the worse it is for them. So it's like, it seems like they're kind of desperate to, if they could, they'd probably tank the economy, if they could.
Yeah.
But since they can't do that, they're just desperate to talk about ISIS and Benghazi, if at all possible, or whatever, and it's just, we've seen that really take over the Republican debate stage, and I'm just curious to know how were they able to pivot it away from George W. Bush's failure in Iraq to Obama's ISIS fuck up, and now it's all going to get us all killed,
If I could answer that, I would. Well, for one, that means I would understand Republican logic, so I probably wouldn't be on this podcast. 2, I would also be probably working for some political campaign, trying to explain it. So I really don't know. I don't know how you can go from one to the other and ignore the blatant failures of one administration and blame those failures on someone completely different.
So we've seen Lindsey Graham, who, he dropped out, but he said we need to put 10,000 troops in Iraq. And I don't know, this might just be Graham's attempt to look butch for his boyfriend John McCain. I think he could just be trying to switch it up for him. But we've seen him say that. We've seen ISIS. They don't seem to get that the Syrian civil war was going on before ISIS showed up.
Right.
And the Free Syrian Army and Bashar al-Assad's regime, they were already having a civil war that ISIS just kind of showed up in,
Yeah, it's like they're already having a civil war.
And they don't seem to get that, like, that this just, ISIS just sort of appeared in this war zone, and they really appeared because there was a void,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
like they personally are going to take over Syria.
Yeah. That's the thing, like, the war started several years ago. Very, very bad situation going on. Assad's used chemical weapons against his own people. And it's like, the country is literally in shambles. And that is a void that kind of helped ISIS spread.
Well, there's been a lot of books, and a book I strongly recommend is ISIS Inside the Army of Terror, where they talk about how not only is Assad not mainly concerned with ISIS, he's been promoting them. Because the Free Syrian Army, and I mean, the rebellion started by a group, people, I don't think people, I guess we can do this in 60 seconds and just kind of break it down more than the media has, but Syria is majority Sunni, or it was. It used to be about 75% Sunni, and Assad was part of that. He was part of a really small minority, only about 10% of the whole country, and it's kind of a reverse Iraq, where you had a, Sunni leader over a Shia population. So it's kind of a reverse of that. And the Syrian insurgency started by the Sunnis was legitimate, and then ISIS he promoted ISIS to come in and co-opt that insurgency and make it look a lot more dangerous and a lot more terroristic than it originally started out as. And so I think maybe that's not really I don't think the media's done a very good job of explaining that and kind of getting into the bottom of that. And I think it looks like it's Assad versus ISIS, when in fact Iran and Russia, most of their bombing campaigns have been more towards the Free Syrian Army, and they've barely touched ISIS.
Right.
And I think this gets to a larger, rather than get bogged down into the Syrian Civil War, I think we really need to get into George W. Bush and his rehabilitation, because this is kind of something that I've noticed a lot in the last few months or whatever, and I think it's mostly because of Jeb's campaign, and I think it's mostly because they're trying to make Obama's policy, like George Bush's policy failures, Obama's policy failures. But have you noticed this very subtle campaign to basically rehabilitate the image of George W. Bush? I mean, have you noticed this kind of out there?
Yeah, I have. And it seems that, it's almost like they're just trying to ignore everything that's happened, and you start seeing people talking about him again. For the longest time, it's like the name George W. Bush was not mentioned anywhere at all.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of like right out of the PR playbook, where first he disappears completely. First he's Houdini, it's like George W. Bush, who the fuck are you talking about? He was never president. Yeah. I don't know who you're referring to, who's this George W. Bush guy? I don't know him. So first he was never president. And then now he's kind of come back, and I saw a piece on Vice a few months ago where it was about AIDS and about George W. Bush's, it wasn't specifically about him, it was about a cure for HIV, but they did interview him. And in that interview, the Shane guy was interviewing him from Vice, and he was like, well, people don't know about all your good work with HIV. And I mean, it almost kind of made me sick, because George W. Bush was like, well, I guess people don't want to associate me with good works. And I mean, it was almost like he was feeling sorry for himself, kind of defensive, And then I've seen that, and I've seen with Trump, more and more people are saying, like Trump saying, well, we don't want the Syrian refugees, and we need to temporarily ban Muslims from entering America. People are comparing him to George W. Bush and George W. Bush favorably. They're saying, well, George W. Bush, he respected American Muslims. And I'm like, is that before or after he greenlit Homeland Security to waterboard them, wish them to what luxurious? I mean, they're talking about Guantanamo Bay like it's a fucking resort,
Yeah.
I mean, I know people that are Muslims, and they had their phones tapped during this time period.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they had their phones tapped. I know, certain Muslim men that they could barely get on an airplane without being harassed. It was like he started this, and yet they're talking about Trump now, that fucking scoundrel. Don't only George W. Bush and Dick Cheney were around to smooth things over with Muslims, but they created this fucking problem in the first place.
Let me tell you, if you want to solve any problems with anybody, you need Dick Cheney around.
I mean, it's incredible. You've got Dick Cheney being like, we need to respect American Muslims more. And I'm like, Dick Cheney? What?
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, it's truly incredible. I mean, they're talking about it like they didn't start the war on terror, like they didn't invade the wrong country, like they didn't create ISIS when they fired the Iraqi military and disbanded the Iraqi military, and then that basically created the Sunni insurgency overnight that eventually became ISIS. They're talking about this shit like they took Muslims out for an ice cream cone. And they just all like got together and had cotton candy with Muslims around the world, like Afghanistan and Iraq, and letting Bin Laden escape to the mountains of Tora Bora in Afghanistan, so that he was in Pakistan, and that way they could keep the war in Afghanistan going forever. I mean, they're talking about this shit like they weren't there for any of this. And I'm pretty sure if that's Muslims in the Middle East, would you rather Donald Trump say you can't come to America even though he has no power to do? I mean, there's never been a ban on a religion coming into the United States. There's no precedent for this. Like, there's no precedent at all to ban a religious group. Number one, it's not enforceable because you ask the guy in Syria, are you Muslim or Christian? Christian. Okay, you're in. You know, they don't have a fucking blood test for what religion you are. Like, it ain't like a pass fail. You lie about it, so it's not enforceable. Number two, there's no precedent ever. There's never been a case. There's been certain times they banned a country like China, back when they were building our goddamn railroad system. They banned Chinese immigrants from coming into the United States because there was so many at the time, but there's never been a religion that's been banned. And so there's no precedent. He can't do it. But if you ask American Muslims, if you said, well, would you rather Donald Trump just say that there may be temporarily a ban, even though he has no power to do it, or would you rather George W. Bush blow up half the Middle East? I'm pretty sure I know which one they would pick, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm. And also, for those conservatives who may be listening, just for the record.
All one of you, one or two of you. Yeah.
All one of you, and we know who you are.
What if Dick Cheney was in a van and he had headphones? He was just like, God damn it, he studies this like the Zapruder film. He's like, I'm gonna, well, we'll see what they, But yeah, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Like I was saying, those of you who, are saying that Trump is, this great and wonderful guy, his little speech about how if he's president, he's going to send the refugees back. It is against international law to send a refugee back to their home country without guaranteeing their safety. So guess what, people? That's not going to happen. So get that out of your mind.
You and I might file a petition to send Rubio and Cruz back to Cuba, otherwise, if it was possible. But I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, because if you remember that incident, this for movie fans out there that may remember the movie Scarface, in the 80s, Castro, before then, he dumped out Cuba's prisons and sent all of the Cuba's prisoners to America as refugees or whatever. And I'm pretty sure if America could have, they would have sent them back. I don't know, but so yeah, there's no precedent for sending refugees back. And I think that people are using Trump. I think they're using him and saying like, oh, what an asshole. He's such a villain. But the Bushes are no better. They're worse, Right. And it's like, I think people are using him as like this example of extreme. But what it is he's extreme in his words. And I think like Bush and Cheney and Rumsfeld, because they were well schooled in PR and doublespeak and everything, they knew how to pretend that it wasn't like they were somehow friendly towards Muslims or whatever, or that they didn't. They knew how to fake it, and they knew how to spin it in a way, but their actions were so much worse. I mean, I think if Trump, if he really won and he didn't quit, which I'm pretty sure he'll quit within a week, as we talked about last podcast, I think within a week or two he'd be like, oh, that stuff about immigrants, I can't do it. Forget about it. I tried, and it's like, what are you going to do, And then he'd be like, who cares? And then, he would just move on and, forget about it. I just think the whitewashing of George W. Bush is it's kind of making me sick, and it's kind of more prevalent than, there just seems to be a camp. And I know some of it's related to Jeb, because they're so desperate for his campaign to gain traction that that they need George H.W. Bush because he's already been rehabilitated. They have the documentary 41 that showed him as this great guy. John Meacham wrote a nonfiction book about him last year. He's like, he was a better president than we ever knew. He wasn't really, he was a pretty mediocre, crummy president, which is why he didn't win re-election. But they're kind of whitewashing it into like this romantic thing. And I think with Junior, they're doing the same thing. Like now they've done it George H.W. Bush, and now if they can make Junior look better than he was, maybe by the time the Earth crashes into the sun, Jeb can be president. So it's like, I think their rehabilitation's so slow, it's not going to help Jeb at all. By the time the race will be over with, by the time they convince people W wasn't that bad. But I also think it's twofold because the more they can make W look better than he was, the more they can make all the foreign policy shit Obama's fault.
Yeah. And plus, I think one of the I guess it's kind of secondary factors that's kind of feeding into making W look so much better. Look at the candidates since his presidency in the Republican Party.
Yeah, but I think that's what they're doing though. Like they're trying to make it like, oh, Trump, he's so much worse than, and I don't think he is though. Like that's the thing. Like I think they're trying to make it seem like Trump is so much worse than W was, and I think again it just comes down to like, because when people forget, when George W. Bush was running for president, they thought he was mentally retarded. They thought this guy's an idiot. He's a cokehead. They're kind of more similar than they are different. They both come from really privileged backgrounds. George W. used to be a party animal. They say he used to have like a drug problem in college. Used to drink a lot. They used to talk back in the campaign with Gore and Kerry. They're like, well, who would you want to have a beer with? I'm like, George W. Bush can't even drink a beer. He's a dry trunk. He's got to drink one of those fucking O'Douls, those non-alcoholic beers. So that would probably be a pretty disappointing beer. If somebody showed up and had like, hey, buddy, let's go out and party. All right, let me get the O'Douls, that's not really, oh shit, we just lost another sponsor. We had O'Douls warmed up and they just dropped out. But I just think, I think that people just forget like what an idiot he was. It felt, when he was president, it felt like every day there was some disaster. It just felt like there was something going wrong like every day. And I think this is what people do. They have like a Bush comes in, there's a recession, there's a war with Iraq, there's all these problems, and then a Democrat comes in. Clinton came in after the first Bush, and there was peace and prosperity for 8 years. There was peace and prosperity for 8 years, and people got so bored that by the end of it, they were obsessing about his blowjob, and it was political correctness, and it was stuff like that, and they were kind of obsessing about it. And then it pushed them towards the conservative side, and then George W. Bush comes in there for 8 years. Like, oh my God, the city of New Orleans is underwater. Holy shit! There's we're losing the Metrodome. Oh my God, he invaded the wrong country. He disbanded the Iraqi army. There's an insurgency going on. We got 2 wars going on, and we're not going to win either one of them. And it was all this just constant, just constant, like Guantanamo Bay, and then he tried to appoint Harriet Miers to the Supreme Court, and the Attorney General scandal with, Gonzalez as his Attorney General, firing all those state prosecutors because they wouldn't prosecute Democrats. It just went on, and then people ran back to the Democrats and Obama, and now the same thing's happening again, where it's like at the beginning of Obama's term, not a single state had, like gay marriage, and then now by the end, every transsexual in America's got their own reality show. And so now the pendulum swung towards political correctness in a way that I'm afraid that people are so bored that they might start looking at the Republicans again and then elect, God forbid, Jeb or any of the Republicans, and then you'd have 8 years of Ted Cruz, and then it would be like, well, we lost America, but it was fun while it lasted. It was like, R.I.P. America, 250 years, not a bad run,
Yeah. Because, looking at some of these guys, the effects that they would have on this country, oh my God. Like, I'm legitimately terrified of some of these people. I mean, can you imagine?
Well, they had a thing, you know, with Trump and Carson and Carly Fiorina. If they won, this would be the first time in history a president with no military or government experience. There's never been, it's never happened before. So I think no matter who the Republican nominee is, they're going to make history in some kind of a way. Because, you know, if it was Carson or Cruz or Rubio or Fiorina, they've never had a minority or a woman in their branch be the nominee. And I think if it's Trump, they've never had a president who's had no government experience or military experience. So no matter what, they make history. And I think it's just, unless it's Jeb. And so maybe that's why, like, the Republicans are like, you know, like that could be Jeb's slogan, like, let's not make history, a third Bush.
Yeah.
I mean, there's never, in American history, there's never, the last time we had two presidents from the same family, it was the Adamses. And since then, it's not even happened. And we've had HW, and now Jeb. It will be the first time in history that there's been three presidents from the same family, and it's the worst family that could happen to. It's like, you know, I mean, you go from John Adams to fucking the Bushes, you know. It's like it might be different if they were even good at being president. You know, it's like, I mean, it's like, I don't know, but I guess we'll see. But for now, we just had to take this breather and go into George W. Bush's presidency and just kind of talk about the whitewashing effect and just remind people, if there's one thing to take away from this podcast, he was a terrible president. You know? I mean, there's those billboards. Only a year into Obama's term, they had George W. Bush billboards.
You
miss me yet? And then, you know, somebody spray painted no. On one of them, it was like, no. And Bill Maher had the great joke where he said, the only person who misses you is the Iraqi reporter who threw the shoe. He missed you. Nobody else. And I just think there's always been like this hunger to rehabilitate his I mean, the Tea Party got started only a few weeks into Obama's presidency. They had the whole Bush presidency to talk about federal power and Homeland Security and wiretapping and the deficit and spiraling out of control, and they waited till, Obama's been president 3 weeks. We got to do something about this shit, guys. It's out of control. There's no way we can.
Wait a minute. Hang on. You're telling me that George W. Bush expanded the federal government?
Yeah. I know it's hard to believe. I know, but people got to remember. They got to go back and remember this for what it was, and you know. I know it's hard to believe that.
I can't believe that. I mean, who would have ever thought a Republican would expand the government?
I mean, I know it's, you know, but so you had, it was just kind of incredible that, like, within a month of Obama's presidency, they had already begun the campaign to minimize George W. Bush's, you know, role by starting the Tea Party and, you know, being like, we got to do something about this. The federal government's just out of control. There's no way to, and I think they've talked about socialism, you know, over and over and over again. But I think that's just really code for, like, an America where it's remotely equal enough for a black guy to become president is socialist.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, that's what
exactly.
really say it. It's like, if it's remotely level enough to where, like, I mean, Obama's basically, you know, people used to call him Black Superman, you know. I mean, it was like, I mean, he basically could come in. It's like, if you could have if any black guy on earth could become, you know, president, then it's socialism. It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
I think they started the campaign to rehabilitate Bush in the beginning, and it didn't work at all. I mean, he just disappeared. And I think that, just to close out this podcast, I think it's interesting that, like, the Democratic presidents make really good ex-presidents, because you see Bill Clinton, he started the Global Initiative, you know, billions of dollars for charity. Jimmy Carter, Habitat for Humanity, like all the yeah, I know. Generalissimo Carter. I mean, I know it was socialist, terrible, but I think with Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton, they've had these charities, they've done all these diplomatic missions. I mean, even when Bush was president, or when Obama, and Obama's early presidency, they had Bill Clinton went on a diplomatic mission to North Korea and came back with hostages. I mean, it's like, this is a superstar president. I mean, he's like the fucking Expendables. Who are we going to call? Bill Clinton. Get him on line one, you know? And it's like, but I think Democrats, and I'm sure Obama will be the same way, really good ex-presidents. And then it shows George W. Bush, well, he paints. He's made a few really shitty paintings, and he's like, you know, he goes to his barn and he likes to paint, and I mean, like he's basically, I mean, his lifestyle is not much different than like a vegetable.
Yeah, and I feel like that's one reason you see these rehabilitation projects on presidents. And if you notice, the only presidents that they really have these on are Republicans. Democrats, they don't ever really try to rehabilitate them afterwards because
and they kind of don't need to, you know.
You're right. That's where I was going, because they don't really need to. But I mean, it's just throughout history.
Well, I don't know, Michael. I don't know, because Bill Clinton, as we all know, he's a rapist. I mean, you know, that's
absolutely
over and over again in the last week. But I think. So I guess we'll see how the story plays out. But for right now, what's your final predictions on tonight's debate? Anything?
Final predictions. I think I'm gonna say that Ted Cruz cries and is declared the winner, just out of pity. Yeah. Out of pity, he's going to be declared the winner.
I think he's been saving it up, but tonight I think he's going to cry in the closing
finally going to come out.
It'll be about how much he loves America, and go to his website, and he's adopted a bald eagle, and he's going to have pictures of that eating an apple pie. And if you love America, go to his website and donate money, and then it'll all be the spring. Or if he doesn't cry tonight, he'll save it for the debate right before Iowa. There's a debate three days before Iowa, and he might save it up just for then. But I think he might use it tonight. And even if he doesn't cry, I'm pretty sure Rick Santorum is going to cry from the parking lot as he watches the debate on the portable television, and as he watches the debate on his iPhone in the parking lot. I'm pretty sure Santorum will cry no matter what.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, I think another good podcast. Not as funny as the first one, but more informative. And we'll see you guys next week after the third debate. Once again, you can find me at alabamaliberal.com, and Michael
at blueandalabama.wordpress.com.
All right. So please kick us out.